What you're looking for, you can find it here on the Hope TV. What you're looking for, what you're looking for, you can find it here on the Hope TV. What you're looking for, welcome to the Hope TV. What you're looking for, you can find it here on the Hope TV. What you're looking for, what you're looking for, you can find it here on the Hope TV. What you're looking for, welcome to the Hope TV. What you're looking for, you can find it here on the Hope TV. What you're looking for, what you're looking for, you can find it here on the Hope TV. What you're looking for, welcome to the Hope TV. What you're looking for, you can find it here on the Hope TV. What you're looking for, what you're looking for, you can find it here on the Hope TV. What you're looking for, welcome to the Hope TV. What you're looking for, you can find it here on the Hope TV. What you're looking for, what you're looking for, you can find it here on the Hope TV. What you're looking for, welcome to the Hope TV.
Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. This is the day that the Lord has made. We're here to rejoice and we're here to be glad in it. So good to see you this morning. Welcome to Hope TV. I'm Edwin Smith and I am just absolutely ecstatic that you've tuned in to spend this time with us here at Hope TV. You tune in to Morning Dew, which is one of our highest rated broadcasts. And we're excited to have you here. We really, really are. That's an incredible blessing. We started Hope TV in March of 2020 as an outreach out of the pandemic, actually. And here we are 18 months ago, 18 months later, almost to the date that we had our first show called Pastoring in a Pandemic. 18 months we've been going strong, and now Hope TV has come from a very small vision to an international network, and we thank God for you, and you. And I appreciate you for being a part. Thank you for tuning in to get a daily dose of hope. And if you're watching through various platforms, Apple TV, Roku, Twitch, Amazon, Fire TV. If you're watching through YouTube or Facebook, the edewittsmith.org website, the House of Hope Atlanta website, the Hope TV website, however you are viewing, thank you for your viewership. It means the world to us here at the Hope TV. And if you tuned in, please drop me a line and let me know the city, the state, and the country from whence you're viewing. We take your viewership very seriously, and we try to develop and produce content that is not only content that has an aspect of entertaining faith, but also that is relevant to our specific demographics, those who watch us regularly. So we want to make sure that we are in tune and abreast of what's happening in your local vicinities. So please drop us a line and let us know the city, the state, and the country from which you're viewing. It means the world to us. Not just that, but if you're watching through a platform that will allow you to subscribe, to like, to comment, or to share, oh my goodness, that would be extraordinarily helpful to us. I mean, every time you subscribe, you can get notifications as to when new content is uploaded. Your subscriptions also help us in terms of leveraging that when we're trying to get algorithms and trying to do advertisements with different advertisers. It helps us in a tremendous way when people see the range and the scope of our viewership. It's very, very helpful to us. So please subscribe. You can subscribe to the Hope TV, subscribe on YouTube and on Facebook to the House of Hope Atlanta. You can subscribe to my YouTube page, Dr. E. Dewitt Smith, my YouTube channel, and my Facebook, the official page of Pastor E. Dewitt Smith. So please subscribe. Subscribe to all those different platforms. It's incredibly helpful. And then those likes, my goodness, they're very helpful because they help us with our algorithms. Every social media outlet has its own algorithm, and that determines how wide and how wide ranging, how many people you can reach. And so your likes help our algorithms to grow and to be loosened some so that we can get into more areas. So please keep hitting that like button. That's helpful for us in terms of that social media platform. And then your comments are very, very helpful, especially in times like these, because they help us with our engagements. But they also help me when I'm trying to do lessons and trying to make sure that I'm connecting with each of you. Those comments are helpful because it lets me know that we're connecting. So please, man, please, sir, keep commenting. Let me know what you feel about the lesson, about Hope TV, etc. And then last but certainly not least, that share button is so powerfully important. Because listen, we can expand the platform. If we can double the platform today, that's simply about one person. Each of you sharing that platform with one other person. We've doubled our numbers. We've doubled our viewership. So more people can get a daily dose of hope and his inspirations. Come on, so if you can subscribe, like, comment, or share, that will be preeminently important to each of us here at the Hope TV. So thank you in advance. We've been trying our best to minister to you and provide you programming throughout the pandemic every day. We have a whole list and cadre of programs and content that we're producing, and we're excited about that. We're also excited about season 5 of the Hope TV that's going to start in a few weeks. Our team has been ramping up for the last couple of weeks, getting ready for season 5 and new programming. I think you're going to be so incredibly blessed. We've been going strong at this every single day, and it's just been a blessing. It really, really has. And so many people from across the world have just given us reviews about how this platform and how this network has blessed their lives. And so I want you to ramp up, keep praying for our team as they finalize everything to get ready for season 5 that starts in a few weeks. And not only does season 5 start in the month of October, but as some of you know, we've been creating not just content on Hope TV and content in preaching and productions as we've done for years, but I've also dived into my musical abilities and my music vision, and I've been producing some music and writing some songs, and I released a single 6 months ago called Your Presence is a Gift, and we have made it into the top 30. Yeah, we're nearing top 20, and God is so good. I mean, unbelievable for an unknown artist. You know, I've been preaching it all my life, but artistry, that's been doing this for a few months. and started our record label called Pebble Street Records and released my first single, Your Presence is a Gift, and we made it to the top 30. Yeah, on Billboard. Unbelievable, isn't that? As an indie artist, and that's still climbing, being played all across the nation. And so if you haven't got it yet, you can get it. But then not just that, but in a few days, October the 1st, you heard that right, October the 1st, my first solo project. I've been a musician all my life, but my first project is going to drop on October 1st. It's called God Period. And I can't wait for y'all to get my new project. It's going to bless your life. And so y'all be ready for it. It's not for it. Some great, great music on there. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, I really don't want to say this because it's biased, because I'm not. It's phenomenal music. I'm not just talking either. And I said it very humbly, but I'm very, very confident. I think you'll be very, very blessed. We took our time, took us about a year to get this, and these songs are from the heart, and the whole album is focused on God. So it's called God Period. So y'all be ready for God Period. Drops October the 1st, Friday, October the 1st. And then Friday, October the 2nd, I'll be performing at Praise in the Park, 102.5. Yeah, Radio 1. So I'm on with a whole list of all the other industry, so many industry greats. So to be a novice, I'll be part of that platform, and Kiera Sheard and Fred Hammond and so many others are going to be there. Pastor Charles Jenkins and so many, Kayla Carr, and the list goes on and on and on and on. And so for me to be a part of that, Praise in the Park with 102.5 Radio 1, I am honored amongst honors. It's an honor amongst honors. I'll be performing some of my new songs as well. So if you haven't got your tickets yet, go ahead and get them. Praise in the Park, Radio 1 with FM 102.5 here, which is our gospel station here in Atlanta. So I look forward to seeing you there at Praise in the Park on October the 2nd. But before that, October 1st, my new album, my first solo project, God Period, is going to drop on October the 1st. So make sure that your event sales, go ahead and put you a few coins, about $10 aside now, so you can be ready to get that on October the 1st. All right. So thank you in advance. All right. Listen, we're getting ready to get started. We are in Morning Dew, which is my morning devotional. And I'm excited about this, excited about the opportunity to share with you. We've been going really through the life of Paul for the last couple of months, actually. I liked it because it showed some of the challenges of the early church and a lot of the emotional and mental pieces. We dealt with the book of Philippians. It kind of, in my opinion, deals with this whole aspect of mental health. And we've gone through Galatians, and we've gone through Philippians, and that now we're in Galatians, and I'm excited about that. And so we're in Galatians chapter 1, and there are a few things I want to lift for you in Galatians chapter 1. And we're going to finish the chapter today, Galatians chapter 1. But Paul says something that's very interesting in chapter 1 about his ministry. He says this: "Then I began my ministry in the regions of Syria and Cilicia." He says, then he's kind of chronicling his journey as a Jew. And he says something here that's very interesting. He says, then I began my ministry. He's talking about when he got started in ministry. He says, he's talking about his conversion. Then he says, then I began my ministry in the regions of Syria and Cilicia. When I read that, something just popped out at me, and the word that came to me was this. Paul says, then I got started. He says, that's when I got started. I started my ministry in the regions of Syria and Cilicia. And when I saw that, what jumped out at me, my homiletical antennas went into full gear. And I thought about something. Paul is saying, this is when I got started, and where I got started, around the regions of Syria and Cilicia. And for you and I want to lift that passage, and I want to say to each of us, it's time to get started. Paul talks about his start, and I want to say to you and me and everybody who's watching, it's time for us to get started. You know, it's amazing how typically we start out every year. Steve Harvey mentioned this the other day, and we start out with these New Year's resolutions, and whether it be to physical goals, want to lose weight, or whether we want to save some money and do some things better financially. And we normally do that in January, right? make these great plans, and then what happens to us when we get to the last quarter of the year, around October? Guess what happens in October, November? Um, that's when the shopping starts, and most people who make plans in January to do something strong financially in terms of getting out of debt, getting a budget, etc., saving some money. What happens by the fourth quarter? That's when the holidays and Christmas. And so we end up working 9, 10 months, get to the last quarter of the year, and spend money on the holidays that really goes totally against everything that we said we're going to do in the previous January. We said we want to lose weight. I know I said it. Many of you have said it with me. We have these plans every year. We want to lose weight. Well, what happens in November? Well, Thanksgiving, parties, holidays, eating, New Year's parties, Christmas parties. So we pack on an extra 10 pounds at the end of the year and then say we're going to wait till January to get started. If we get started in January on the new year, only to mess it up in the last quarter of the year. And so when I saw that message from Paul, that he began his ministry, I got started in the regions of Syria and Cilicia. What jumped out of my mind is that we should not wait until January to make a New Year's resolution. We can get started now. As we're in the middle of this, as we're closing out this third quarter, getting ready to start the fourth quarter in a few days. We shouldn't wait until January. We shouldn't wait until we get to January to start and only to mess it up in the last quarter of the year. And what I want to say to all of us today is that God has given us the strength to get started. And he that hath begun a good work in each of us. And so whatever your goals are, whatever you did not accomplish, if you've been twiddling your thumbs, and what did you gain through the pandemic? How has the pandemic benefited you? Many of us have been sitting back waiting for the pandemic to end. And brothers and sisters, the pandemic is not going to end before the end of 2021. We're going to go into 2022 with COVID-19 and the Delta variant. And so if we're sitting back waiting on things to get normal, and why I'm saying that will never be that same normal again. We got to figure out this new normal. But don't wait to get started based upon the conditions. Don't wait to get started based upon the holidays. Don't mess up your goals in the fourth quarter, the things you set out to do in the first of the year, because we're not thinking about how we finish strong. And so today, Paul says it's time to get started. Whether it be ministry, whether it's school, your business, whether it's improving the home, whether it's to take care of your body. In the last 3.5 months of this year, what can you do? What can we all do to say, you know what? I want to be stronger. I'm not going to wait and continue to talk about it. I want to get started right now. Hope TV was not us waiting to come out of the pandemic to do ministry. It's let's get started with something while we're in it. The music that God has given me, the songs that God has allowed me to write. I'm not waiting until I got out of the pandemic. I'm going to get started in the midst of it. It's time to get started, brothers and sisters. And Paul says it's time to get started, but there are 3 different things that he says to us right quickly that I believe are very helpful to keep us kind of focused. He says, listen, then I began my ministry in the regions of Syria and Cilicia. After all that time and activity, I was still unknown by face among the Christian churches in Judea. He says, listen, I started in Syria, I started in Cilicia, and a lot of time went by, had a lot of activity, but I still was unknown by face. Paul says, I got started and I had a lot of activity and a lot of time, but people still didn't know who I was. And that hit me, because what that said to me is that when you and I decide to get started, here's what Paul simply says, in my opinion. Number 1, that we should choose purpose over popularity. That we choose purpose over popularity. Notice that Paul does not say, after all the activity and after all that time, I was upset that nobody knew my name. Notice he does not say, I started my ministry in Syria and Cilicia because I wanted people to know who I was. He does not say, that I spent all my time making sure they knew what my face was. He was not concerned about his branding. He was not concerned about his marketing. He was not concerned about billboards. He didn't focus more on his brand than he did the Bible. He didn't focus more on popularity than he did his purpose. He said, I was about doing my ministry. It wasn't about how people viewed me. It wasn't about whether they knew me or not. He said, I did this because I was called to do it. And let me say to all of us that when it's time for us to get started, we have to ask ourselves the question, what has God called us to do? What are those things that we've been procrastinating about? What are the things that God has been pushing and pushing and pushing and prodding us to do? Because in the end of the day, just because you're not visible does not mean you're not valuable. Nobody knew Paul's face, but that same person that nobody knew ended up becoming the leading missionary of the church of the Lord Jesus Christ. 13 or 14 books of the New Testament are attributed to this guy who nobody knew in the beginning. So choose purpose over popularity. All things work together for good to those who love God and those who are called according to his purpose, not those who are achieving and those who are reaching for popularity. Just because you're popular doesn't mean you're purposeful. That's why I believe that if nobody knows your name, in this social media age, everybody wants likes and fans, and so many people want likes and fans and followers and do things for likes and fans and followers. But just because you got a lot of likes and a lot of followers does not mean that you're following the Lord or that the Lord likes what you and I are engaged in. So always choose purpose over popularity. Paul says that I didn't stop because they didn't know me by face. My purpose was not for them to know my face. That's what I believe, brothers and sisters, because he worked hard, he was diligently, that he chose his purpose over his popularity. And if we walk in purpose, not worried about what people think, not worried about accolades and recognition from the outside world, because the same people who lift you up will also let you back down. Choose to walk in purpose. The first thing Paul tells us is that, number one, you should choose popularity over purpose. Then the second thing Paul says to us today that's very, very helpful, he says that change overcomes our past. The change, if that's true change, it'll overcome the past. Look what he says in that text again. He says, then I began my ministry in the regions of Syria and Cilicia. After all that time and activity, I was still unknown by face among the Christian churches in Judea. They didn't know me by face. I wasn't doing it to be popular. It didn't matter if they didn't know my face. He says, listen, that was only this report. The only thing that they were saying was this. They didn't know who I was. They didn't know my face. Here's what they were saying in Judea. That man who once persecuted us is now preaching the very message he used to try to destroy. They didn't know my face. They didn't know who I was. They didn't know my name. Had a lot of time, a lot of activity. Got started in Syria and Cilicia. They didn't know my name. They didn't know my face in Judea. But here's what they did know. This was the only report. That guy who once persecuted us is now preaching the same thing he used to try to destroy. They knew my past, Paul says. They knew I was a persecutor of the church. That I was a Pharisee amongst Pharisees, a member of the tribe of Benjamin, circumcised on the 8th day of my birth. I was a tent maker from Tarsus. I matriculated the prep schools of Palestine, went to the University of Jerusalem, was tutored at the feet of the Rabbi Gamaliel. They knew all that. They knew that I was going to lock up the church of the Lord Jesus like a wild animal. They knew my past. But they also knew the report was the same guy who once persecuted us is now preaching the same message that he used to try to destroy. Isn't that a blessing? That when there's true change in your life, change will overcome whatever you've done in the past. I want to say a word to you. Don't let what you've done in the past stop you from getting started. Don't allow what people have said about you or the negative moments of your life. Please know there's some bad in the best of us and some good in the worst of us. That's why we should never look down on a man or woman unless we're trying to pick them up. St. Paul was able to say, that the people could say, they knew my change. They knew my change. They weren't concerned about my clothes, my cars, my cribs, my cash, my companions, or my creature comforts. That didn't make a difference. My clothes didn't make the testimony. My cars, my cash, my cribs, my career, that didn't make the testimony. What made the testimony is that I had been changed. Oh, and what a wonderful change in my life has been wrought since Jesus came into my heart. Floods of joy o'er my soul like the sea, billows roll since Jesus came into my heart. Paul says he changed my life. And what a wonderful change has come over me. He changed my life, and now I'm free. He washed away my sins, and now I sit at my Savior's feet. Paul could say that my change overcame. It helped me to overcome my past. Now, some people try to hold your past against you, but if there's authentic change, and some people try to bring up what you used to do, but for the people whose hearts are touched by it, change will help them to look beyond what you've done in the past. I don't care if you messed up. I don't care if you started business and failed. I don't care if you had issues and you've been sinful and you've done wicked things. Change can help you overcome that past. A true godly sorrow and godly repentance. Take it to God, and God will help you overcome it. What the devil often tries to do is silence your voice by bringing up what you used to do. Yes, many of us have made terrible mistakes in our lives, but never allow your past, never be a prisoner to your past. Forget those things that are behind. Because guess what? Some of our past failings have been public, some have been private. But all of us have failed, and all of us have a past. Don't allow the past to keep you hijacked. Don't allow your destiny to be hijacked and handicapped by your history. Change can help you to overcome your past. And so Paul says, it's time to get started. Choose purpose over popularity. Change can overcome your past. You can do it. Yes. Choose purpose over popularity. Change overcomes our past. And the third and final thing Paul says, I lift this, I'm going to let you go. He says that when you get started, commit to showing God's power. Commit to showing God's power. Put that verse back up there. I'm going to lift it for you and I'm going to let you go. About how we should commit to showing God's power. Look what it says. Then I began my ministry in the regions of Syria and Cilicia. After all that time and activity, I was still unknown by face among the Christian churches in Judea. He said they didn't know me. I wasn't popular. I wasn't my popular as a purpose. He said there was only this report that the man who once persecuted us for the message is now preaching the very message he tried to destroy it. They knew that some change had taken place. They knew my past, but they saw I was changing. The thing I used to kill, now I was proclaiming it. I used to be antagonistic toward the gospel. Now I'm the main protagonist for the gospel. He says this, their response was to recognize and worship God because of me. Lord have mercy. Their response was to recognize and worship God because of me. He said, here's what. When God let me get started, the ultimate purpose was for them to recognize and worship God as a result of me. So I wanted to get started. I wanted to be committed to show people who God was. The things I started on were so God could get the glory. I didn't want to start in anything. Whatever I started in, ultimately, I wanted to make sure that people can recognize and worship God because of what I'm doing. Let me ask you a question. The things that you desire to do, for whom are you doing them? Are you doing these things for money, popularity, for self-gain? Are you doing these things for narcissistic purpose? Are you self-serving? For whom are you doing these things? Is your ultimate desire for God to be glorified in all that you say, in all that you do? And here's one reality, brothers and sisters. If God can't be glorified in what you're trying to do, then maybe you ought not be doing it. thing you're trying to get started in, you have to ask yourself the question, can God be glorified? Can this help me to show the power of God? So it's not by my might, not by my power, by his spirit. Lord, I want you to do this in my life for your name's sake, for you to get the glory. That's a very good litmus test. It helps to sanitize your motives sometimes. Why am I doing this? The things I'm excited about that are on my vision board. Does God get glory out of those things? The business you want to start, the place you want to visit. How can God be glorified? The weight you want to lose is just so you can be fine. Or do you want to be healthy so you can keep preaching and keep serving and working for God? Why are you doing these things? If you can't show the power of God in it, and it can't lead people to recognize and worship God, that may be an indication that you should be doing. Find a way to ask yourself, can Christ be exalted? Can God be glorified? It's time to get started. But as you get started, it's very important that you choose purpose over popularity. You got to choose purpose over popularity. As you get started, you got to remember, change overcomes our past. And thirdly, when you get started, commit to showing God's true power. Let somebody be able to recognize and worship God because of the thing that you just got started in. For thine is the kingdom, thine is the power, thine is the glory, forever, amen. Hope TV was birthed because we want to edify you, but we want to glorify God. The album I'm getting ready to release, the songs I've written, are to bring uplift. Yes, to uplift to those who view it, those who listen. But it is to bring exaltation and to magnify God. I hope you've been blessed today. It's time to get started. Don't wait till January. In the fourth quarter of this year, whatever you have not done, whatever's on your vision board, whatever you've been talking about all year that you're going to do, and you've not made progress in it, it's time to get started. May not be able to do the whole year, but 3.5 months left to go in this year. Start right now. Read the book today. Write the book today. Start walking today. Time to get started. May not can lose 50 pounds this year, but you might can lose 10. Time to get started. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Don't procrastinate. Get up and get started. Let's get it started in here. My friends, you've been watching Morning Do What He Do with Smith. I hope you've been blessed by this daily dose of hope. So close now. Always remember this. If you will be good to God, then God will be good to you. Till next time. Peace. Let's get started.